Hey guys, Happy New Year, Glockster42. Well, it's a new year, and here is the first kit of 2020 that I've completed. This is the Academy 1/35 scale Israeli Magach 6B. Gal Batash. Sorry, my Hebrew's not very good, so we won't even try and butcher it anymore. Yeah, this took me about a week and a half to build. It's a fairly good kit. There's a few ups and downs with it, as there are with some of the older Academy kits, but overall it builds up to a very realistic looking Magach 6B from what I've seen of the on the internet. There's a few different versions of this. This one is based on the US M60 tank, and there's a few things that you need to watch out for when you're building this one. The fit is not Tamiya, but it's not drag, and it's Academy. It's okay. It's a little bit challenging here and there, but for overall it goes together quite well. The running gear goes really good. The fit and finish of the tires are nice. The only problem are these rubber band vinyl tracks. Now, I have no problem with what rubber band vinyl tracks on modern AFVs. I'm fine with it, but what I'm not fine is when they're about a length too short because there's not a lot you can do to fix it. There's no way of adjusting the rear idlers or front idlers on these. You can't give them any more space. In fact, they're so darn tight, the tracks tend to bow a bit right in the middle of the drive shaft, or not the drive shaft, but the drive. You can see right there, they're slightly bowed inside. That's because they're so damn tight, they just get pulled right into the drive sprocket. And there's not really, unless you block the inside of this, there's not really any way of alleviating that. I guess, of course, you could cut the track in the middle and give it a little bit of length back and then glue it to the top of the sprockets. But, you know, why should you? The tracks are not gluable. They just didn't respond to anything. Super glue wouldn't touch them. None of my styrene glue would even soften them up. So they're the old style with the pins and the hot screwdriver to seal them up. Kind of like Tamiya did in the 1970s. Academy's still doing that in some of their kits, so that's what you get stuck with on here. You could do that if you really wanted to. I didn't worry about it much because with some weathering and some pastes and some pigments and whatnot, that shouldn't be really all that noticeable. It does include a figure, which I'm very happy for. Not very many places include figures anymore. Now the figure is really actually quite nice. Like I said, I'm really glad that they added figures. That's just one thing you don't see enough of coming with kits, are tank figures. So what I did, the only thing I added to him was I just gave him a little milliput beard because he was just looking a little bit too Western European. I want to give him that big bushy beard that you see in a lot of Israeli soldiers and tankers. So I added that to it, and that's about the only thing I added other than the anti-slip texture, which I'll talk about here next. Now, the one thing with Israeli armor that's really noticeable is their really heavy anti-slip texture that's, I believe it's either sprayed or rolled on. I've seen this stuff come in tins at the rigs and it's rolled on. Now, I did two different types of application. This first application here is with Mod Podge. I went and cut Tamiya tape and taped off all the reactive armor seams. And I put down a thick coat of flat Mod Podge, and then I added frac sand, which I picked up at a location I was working on. Now, frac sand is a very small sand, but it's very uniform in size. So I sprinkled the frac sand on the Mod Podge, and then I was left with lots of microscopic little holes that just didn't look right. So then I added a coat of Tamiya thinned out putty, which worked all right, but then I still had little micro holes which I filled with Vallejo plastic putty in the tube. This good stuff right here. Just a quick aside, guys, I love this stuff. It's hard to find. If you can get it, Amazon's got it, pick it up. It's great for doing little seams where you don't want a big seam but you still want a seam visible. So that's one of my go-tos. So what I did was on the rest of the turret, I wasn't terribly happy with the Mod Podge. So what I went ahead and did was I used the Vallejo plastic putty. I put it on, and then I took, same thing, I took my Tamiya tape and I did all the seams and all the lines where we didn't want any of this, and we spread down the plastic putty, which is it says that it is 100% acrylic resin. So we spread that on, and then we sprinkled the frac sand on. And as you can hear, it gave it a very nice, smooth, rough texture, but it didn't give me all the little micro holes like I had with the Mod Podge. And it is tough as nails. It is hard as a rock. Well, it's basically a rock coating. So that's what I did all the top surfaces in. I did all the areas where the tank has it. Now, I've seen some pictures where this area here, let me just zoom back a bit here, boys. This area here has the anti-slip on it, and I've seen some armor with the anti-slip up on top of here. But it doesn't seem to be consistent. Some tanks have it, some don't. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go with what's pretty obvious of what I've seen on the other vehicles. So very little fill. There is a little bit of putty fill right along here. I had to fill in there. There are some interesting fit issues down in through here. Getting these drive hubs on. They were a bit of a challenge. They were a real challenge, and you can see how my thumb goes right in there. So that's really tight. That's really super tight. I'm not sure how long those tracks are going to last. I could see them in a few years breaking down and coming apart, and then having to go back and do some super glue on it, or maybe even tie them up with a piece of string in between, make some holes, and then hide it underneath the tracks. But all in all, a very nice rendition of the Magach 6B. They don't seem to be very popular. There's not that many, from what I could tell, in service with the Israeli Defense Forces. But all in all, it was a fun kit. Would I build it again? It wasn't that much. It wasn't that much fun. It was a bit of a chore in places. And then, of course, with a lot of the modern stuff, adding all this anti-slip is a bit of a chore, but it's fun. It turned out actually into a pretty damn nice looking little tank ready for paint. I thought I'd just share this with you guys before I painted and weathered it, just so you'd have an idea of what the actual build looked like and where any seams might be. But like I said, the only bad seams were right back here in these edges, back where the air intake, yeah. No, those are the exhaust. That's the exhaust in that tank. I don't know my modern stuff very good, so if I'm speaking out of turn, don't roast me in the comments. I mean, I just got roasted by one fellow watching a video I've got. Well, that shouldn't be green, it should be white. It's Planet of the Apes. Who cares? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Take care. Get out, build some models, have some fun. We'll talk to you later.